This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
George Washington and Abraham Lincoln appear to be the most prominent personalities in the entire history of the United States. Their names are closely connected to the most significant changes in society, which greatly influenced the lifestyle of all Americans in the long run. Therefore, the purpose of this paper is to compare and contrast these historical figures and present specific similarities and differences between them. Similarities. First of all, it is essential to start with the characteristics that are common to both George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. They are the most well-known presidents of the United States of different historical periods. While George Washington was the first qualified person in this post from 1789 to 1797, Abraham Lincoln was the 16th president and served from 1861 to 1865. As it is mentioned in Diffen, they both served 2 terms in office during their own time and are memorialized in the present by statues, United States currency, and Mount Rushmore. The portrait of the first American president is depicted on the $1 paper currency, and the image of Abraham Lincoln is used on $5 paper currency. Another feature that could be common for both presidents regards the topic of education. Although the ways they acquired essential and basic knowledge were different, it should be mentioned that George Washington and Abraham Lincoln were interested in broadening their minds. In addition, another part of their biographies is similar too. Both presidents completed military service and were leaders of the population during wars, which resulted in revolutions. Differences. Considering the fact that George Washington and Abraham Lincoln lived in different historical periods, it is evident that the activities of the presidents have a great number of dissimilarities. For instance, as for their philosophies, which shaped their policy and slogans, the 16th president was convinced that it was essential to unite the entire country and prevent its division. Furthermore, he was absolutely opposed to slavery and attempted to supply the population with freedom and basic rights. George Washington disapproved of partisanship and sectionalism, and he considered it inappropriate to participate in foreign wars. Moreover, Abraham Lincoln was a member of the Republican Party, while George Washington did not refer to any political party. The biographies of these historical personalities contain a significant number of differences, too. The first American president was born into a wealthy family and lived in abundance for their entire life. In addition, he had an opportunity to be taught at home and received appropriate education for this period. On the contrary, Abraham Lincoln was born into a low-income family and could attend school only occasionally. Their initial professions were no similar as well. While Abraham Lincoln was a country lawyer and an Illinois state legislator, George Washington was a tobacco farmer and plantation owner. Therefore, the life paths of the presidents and their occupations before their posts were different. Conclusion. In conclusion, it should be mentioned that the contribution to the development of the country and the establishment of freedom and basic human rights of both presidents cannot be underestimated. This appears to be the major similarity between them, which outweighs all the differences in their activity and biography. For this reason, Abraham Lincoln and George Washington are still respected in the modern world, and their figures are presented in numerous statues and portraits. This essay on George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, Similarities and Differences, was written and submitted by a student just like you. The Ivy Panda Samples database hosts thousands of works similar to this one, on various subjects. Visit ivypanda.com to find what you are looking for, free of charge.